Let's now talk to Brigadier General Sonny Usman, retired. He joins me tonight to help unpack this distressing reality. Former Army spokesperson and one of Nigeria's most respected security analysts. He joins me live from our Abuja studio. Brigadier General Usman, thank you so much for making it to the studio this time. Looking at this pattern, we're seeing school kidnappings, church attacks, political violence. Is this a resurgence of the kind of insecurity we saw before 2015? Or what really do you think is happening here?
Well, actually, it is rather quite sad and unfortunate. Within this last 7 days, we have had experiences of such attacks, kidnap of school children in the Kebbi State, the attack in Kwara State, and now the kidnapping in Niger State. It is quite worrisome and disturbing, more so given the kind of victims, particularly school children and all the rest. Sometimes we begin to wonder and what is really happening in this country. Then, of course, for obvious reasons, a lot of things will come into your mind. You know, is it the conspiracy theory that people are so determined towards working towards a particular objective or narrative, or is it the normal criminality that we will feel over time to deal with? Now they are taking and do advantages of this lacuna to perpetrate their criminal acts. I think the most important thing now, I think, is to expedite action to make sure that these people are rescued, you know, and harmed.
Absolutely. And you know, there are conversations as to whether or not it's coincidence. All of these are happening weeks after Nigeria was designated a country of particular concern. The abduction at the Catholic school in Niger, for instance, happened on the morning after the U.S. Congress public hearing on Nigeria. But we're hearing that there were intelligence reports that hinted about these attacks on schools both in Kebbi and Niger. Precisely what are we looking at here? Systemic failure, negligence, or breakdown in command?
Well, it's very difficult to say. And I've seen the statement by the Secretary to Niger State government, given the fact that a directive was given. And of course, I've been seeing reports here and there saying that the Department of State Service has given period warning to that. But the most important thing is, even if there is information, what mechanism do you have for the responders to respond expeditiously or to prevent that? And when you also look at it, we have policies. Take, for instance, the policy about safe school and all the rest. What happened to it? Have we really implemented it to the fullest by putting structures in place to ensure that these places of learning are being protected? And in any case, we are yet to even determine how do we protect private enterprises, like private schools and all the rest vis-a-vis that of the public school. So whenever you are embarking on such things, the first thing, given the prevailing circumstances in this part of the world, and in fact even elsewhere, security should be of utmost concern first and foremost. So it's a collective responsibility, so to speak, right from the ownership of the school, the community itself, those who are statutorily responsible to protect life and properties in this country. And I think the problem here is that I think there is kind of lack of cohesion and synergy of efforts, and security education in respect of that. Otherwise, all this kind of thing shouldn't have happened. And if you look at the history, the school has been there in the community. It's serving so many communities, and people are benefiting. So what sort of protective mechanism do we have to protect such infrastructure and, of course, hapless school children like that? So these are the issues that we should talk. But if you look at it vis-a-vis, those who are statutorily responsible for, the protection of such infrastructure, is it the police? Is it the civil defense? Or who? Then do they have the equipment? Do they have the number? Do they have the accurate, timely information? Do they have the logistics support? Because it will surprise you. Maybe the distance between that school and the nearest police post is something else. So these are the kind of thing we are looking at. So it's a collective thing. I think the most important thing is that we are supposed to be learning lessons. But are we learning the lessons? And these things are happening, they have been occurring, and we have not been doing anything. But I think it's a wake-up call vis-a-vis including the hearing that you are talking about. Basically, in as far as much I'm concerned, these people just decided to hold a mirror for us to look at it. It's so bad that if you don't like what you see in the mirror. So, but it's more or less like a wake-up call.
And we've had conversations like it's amazing that it's the U.S. that is doing that for us, that we probably haven't seen that kind of public hearing at that magnitude, addressing specifically the issues of the challenges of insecurity with the National Assembly in Nigeria.
Unfortunately, the network seems to be very poor. I could barely hear what you're saying. I know you're talking.
Oh my! It's unfortunate. I'm hoping that we can make that happen. Brigadier General, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, beautiful. The Chief of Army Staff has said that success is not optional in the rescue mission. Realistically, what capabilities do the military and intelligence services need right now to bring the students home safely and quickly?
Well, it's a combination of sort, both human, intelligence and the use of technology, and of course the resources to act expeditiously. But then one complementary aspect of it is the issue of infrastructure. Bulk of these attacks, they happen in the most vulnerable communities, and you realize that motorable roads, in fact, not just motorable roads, simply there are no roads at all, even if you are going to use motorcycle. And this criminal elements, they knew the vulnerabilities in respect of that when they attack, they know before you could meet up with them, they have gone far, and all the rest of the things. And so basically, these are some of the challenges and limitations. But beyond that, I know there is determination on the part of the security forces to do what it takes to rescue these people. But at the same time, there are certain things that need to be in place, like what I have just mentioned. But most importantly here, I think, is the issue of intelligence, and it should be timely and accurate also.
We just recently changed service chiefs, and there are conversations as to whether or not they are equal to the task to rise to the occasion in the face of all of these challenges. Let me get your opinion quickly about the life sentence handed to Inam Danu. He has a significant following in the Southeast, and I'm sure you've heard the reactions as well. Do you see this verdict as a stabilizing move, or could it further inflame tensions in the region? Should government explore a political pardon as being advocated in some quarters? What's your sincere counsel as a security expert?
Well, I could barely hear, but I think I have heard words like stabilizing the government, and but if it is my understanding, given the kind of myriads of these issues happening, I think the most important thing, I think the most important thing is that there is need to galvanize the Nigerian society, particularly the affected communities, to enhance their resilience, to ensure that these non-state actors are not exploiting the fault lines that we are having. And when you are facing security challenges of this magnitude, in any case, even if it is not up to this extent, I think the most important thing is a question of mobilizing the society so that each and everyone will be on the same page, because everybody has a role to play. If, for instance, one component of the society is not working as expected, then definitely you are only as secured as your most vulnerable points.
And it is sad that we have told this tale for many years, decades, if I'm not mistaken. You were actively speaking for the Nigerian military between 2015 and 2019. But I was asking specifically about your thoughts on the life sentence given to Inam Danu, whether or not you think it will resolve the challenges in the Southeast. What do you make of the call to have him pardoned politically? Brigadier General, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you when you raise your voice a little bit.
Okay. I wanted to get your opinion on the life sentence handed over to Inam Danu and what you make of the call to have a political pardon considered for him, considering how heated that debate has been and its impact on national security.
Of course, it will serve as a lesson and deterrent to be, people that have such tendencies. When you look at the law and the provisions, and of course, it's something that if you put it side by side, what had been happening over the time, look at targeted attacks, the arm of IPOB and all the rest, sit at home and all these Rotaries and all the rest, and threatening, other international entities and the rest, definitely it will serve as a deterrent to will be, potential terrorists as it were. And I think the lesson here is that you can go about agitating for self-determination without being violent.
They have drawn, parts of the conversations and reactions have been some sort of, comparison drawn between an ISWAP leader who was recently given 20 years imprisonment relative to a life imprisonment for Inam Danu. Some have said that government needs to explore a political pardon, that setting him free perhaps is going to douse the tension in southeast Nigeria. What do you make of that as a security expert?
In respect of that, but the truth is that when it comes to issues of criminality and the well-being of the society, I think that delicate balancing has to be considered very seriously. Yes, we have had instances, people like the other terrorist that was sentenced to, was it 20 or 30 years? I think
20.
To that, I think, I think he should have been, given more stringent sentence than that one that was given, the 20 years that was given to that terrorist who had participated in so many terrorist activities. And that is the problem we are talking. We have some components of Nigerian society, they are not even on the same page. And so what do you tell the victims of such criminal acts? People who have lost family members, businesses destroyed and all the rest. All you need to do, you need to go to the northeast, particularly places that are worst affected. There is nothing, absolutely nothing, that was left or spared by this terrorist group. And yet you are giving them this kind of slap on the arm, on the wrist. I think there is need for more stringent sentences in respect of these terrorist activities and insurgents too.
Well, the nation is now
Although I know for sure there are certain, but so much as we talk about deterrence and the criminal justice system, we also have to look at what are those triggers and drivers to these issues of security challenges that we're having. And we need to address them so much as we are talking about, dealing with criminal activities of that magnitude. The most important thing here is that so much as it is, there are certain people that most of these issues or security challenges bordered on issue of marginalization, injustice, and that need to be addressed. So there is no way you can think of all these things without justice, and fairness to all components of Nigerian society. Because an attack to a single Nigerian is attack against all. And there are quite a number of people that really, the system has not been fair to them, and you have to address that issue. So that, of course, there is justice to the victims as well, even to the perpetrators of this crime.
Indeed. By the way, some news update in that regard. We're hearing from Inam Danu's legal counsel, Alo Ejimofo, who's now confirmed that the IPOB leader has been transferred to a correctional center in Sokoto from the DSS facility in Abuja. Brigadier General, the entire nation is now looking up to President Tinubu to make decisive moves that will make Nigerians feel safer. Some have said perhaps he needs to sack the defense ministers, name terrorism sponsors, etc. If you were speaking to him directly tonight, what would you tell him?
You see, the problem is that there are certain things that have been neglected over time. Even if you bring in certain things. Some time ago, there was a change in the leadership of the services. And the circumstances are almost the same. So there is a need for a kind of rejigging of the entire system itself in terms of security sector reform. Take, for instance, you are talking about correctional facility and, system in the country. But is it performing its statutory responsibility as it is? And what is the relationship being the last wrong in the criminal justice system? What is the relationship between the correctional system with the policing system as well as the other component of the society as well as the judiciary, as it were? Then do they have existing facilities? Because we are meant to understand that these facilities in the first place, they are overpopulated, and most of the people that are inhabitants in those correctional facilities are even awaiting trial. So what happened? And so these are the kind of thing you think of. And this is 21st century. Do you actually have the facilities in such correctional services? Or is it just for punishment, or is it for correction, as it were?
Good place to leave it. Brigadier General Sani Usman, retired, former Army spokesperson. Thank you so much for joining us and talking to us on the program this evening.
Thank you so much.
The conversation is on, everyone. Remember that you can use the hashtag Beyond the Headlines on X. Remember to tag at TVC News NG and at Nifemi Oguntoye. Thank you for joining us today. Watch it again at midnight and 6 a.m. tomorrow.